that keeps working. Okay, I purposely, after I uploaded that last video, I purposely left it alone. I didn't actually even look to see what was going on. But it's pretty typical. And I did one thing a little different. Normally I leave the likes and dislikes, I leave that shut off. I actually enabled it this time. And let's see what happened here. Well, okay. There's 30 dislikes. Now, I was actually expecting that to be around 60. Just figuring. But there's 643 likes, which is actually a little more than I expected too. But people are pretty polarized on this. You know, so I guess. But 194 comments. Well, that, you know, a lot of times I don't even have comments on. But I figured, okay, this one, I'd leave the comments on, but I wouldn't reply to any of them. Like I say, I'd let time go by. I was going to do 24 hours, but now it's been 3 days. So we'll see. You know, I'm not going to answer all of them because, like I said, there's 194 of them. That's too much to. But I'll kind of just go through some of these. But like I say, I haven't looked at these before. And normally the phone that I carry with me, I don't actually even have email on it. I don't have YouTube on it. I don't have GPS running on it. You know, I've got everything shut down. It's just a phone with texting capabilities. I don't even go on the internet on that phone. But, okay, we'll go to the comments. Somebody says Soros wants to be a dictator. Well, he really doesn't want to be the dictator. He wants to be the puppet master. You know, he wants to run things, but behind the scenes. You know, he tries to stay out of the limelight. But he's been working on this system for a long time where he gradually gets people in power. You know, that's like when he first nominated that Harris for vice president, I thought, oh crap, you know, because there's a picture of her shaking hands with Soros' kid. Well, that's not good. You know, it's not a good sign. But there's a hell of a lot of politicians and judges that they all got in power with Soros' money. So, you know, it's like, I know there was some case that just came up not long ago where, you know, they have trouble with that Stacey Abrams, which is an old crony Hillary. So it ends up in court. Who's the judge? Stacey Abrams' sister, who was elected with Soros' money. Well, how is this going to go? You know, only one way. Somebody says they're monitoring your speech, observing things strategically. Well, yeah, but they've been doing that for a long time, you know, so this doesn't concern me really. I mean, I'm not radical. Yeah, and when I said about Biden being really nothing, Biden really, I mean, he's not really a factor in this. My theory was he was a holding place. You know, they could get him in or get him lined up, you know, to be the president-elect. And at that point, if they actually want to, which I think they really wanted to, they can dump him at any time, say he's incompetent, which would be very easy to prove, or corrupt, which would be very easy to prove, and they can dump him. And then they have the option to put in really whoever they want. You know, people keep thinking Harris, but really, I don't think they want her top banana. I was expecting Hillary, and Hillary's been kind of keeping a low profile, but with all the stuff that's gone on since the election, if this would have been a clean election, well, it would have been clean. But if they wouldn't have run, if they wouldn't have cheated in such an obvious way, there wouldn't have been such a fuss. If they could have said, "Yep, Biden won fair and square," then they could have done the swap. Say, well, okay, yeah, he just went nuts. He was perfectly fine before. He just went nuts now. But they're really running the clock out here. There's too much battling going on for them to suddenly try to slip Hillary in there. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure she's itching. I mean, this would be the ultimate opportunity for her, the only opportunity. So I'm sure she's pushing for it, but she's really running out of time. Well, they talked about sliding Obama's wife in there, but I don't think that's going to happen. I would be surprised. Now, when somebody says Biden is epitome of Lenin's useful idiot, and that's kind of what it is. Yeah, I don't think Biden does his own tweets. Oh my God! I mean, he doesn't. You watch him. He reads all this stuff off. And as he's reading, he has no comprehension. There's the words don't. The syntax is all wrong. He has practiced reading off a teleprompter. He's really good at that, or he's passable at that. But if you look close, you see that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't comprehend what he's talking about. He's just reading off whatever they said. That's Laura sometimes where in speeches he'll do that, where he'll read, they'll have a prompt on the teleprompter telling him to, shrug or, do something, and he'll do it because it was on a teleprompter. Or sometimes he will say shrug. He'll say the word shrug. He'll read it off because he's reading. It's just ridiculous. It's embarrassing, which is why they really have to keep him under wraps a lot of the time. You have to give him something written out on the teleprompter, rehearse him on this thing, and just turn him loose and if nothing goes wrong, he can be passable. Yeah, somebody says, borrow Soros and the son's still breathing. Yeah, I don't know. They've run him out of so many countries. There are people who'd love to get their hands on him. I think he's got Hungarian and U.S. dual citizenship or something, but why in the world? But I think he's really lurking up in Canada a lot of the time, too. Somebody said, increase your volume. Well, this shouldn't be bad because I'm close to the camera, but the other day it was kind of windy, so the camera was wearing a mask, so you should feel safe. Yeah, it's funny, like somebody said, he was trying to have a conversation with somebody about this stuff and boom, but really some people, if you're like a normal human being, you thought, okay, you can watch the news, you're going to get the lowdown on what's going on. But you cannot watch regular network news. I watch sometimes just to see how distorted it is because I have seen the truth. I know what's going on, and then to see what they say, there's the world of difference. But if that's all you're going by, there's no point even having a conversation with them. There's no point in it. You aren't going to make any ground. Yeah, here somebody says, Trump lost fair and square. They're just more wacko conspiracy tales. Don't be a whiner. Okay, this is so far off. I watched hours of these sworn depositions from people who were working in these polling places, both the poll watchers and the poll workers. And it's disgusting when the things that went on And to get into the voter fraud is an endless deal. I mean, there is so much stuff there, but it will never be on the network news. Or I can't see how it could ever turn around to actually come on there. But no, there was nothing fair and square about this election, which is so ridiculous. And when you hear him say, "Oh, this was the most honest election," I mean, it's funny because if you actually see what went on, there's just no denying it. Like I said, these people that they had at these, they were small hearings done in like, not in government buildings, they were like in Ramada Inns or something, and some of the legislature would come down and they'd interview these people. And these people, it wasn't like these were radicals with an agenda. These were people, just your normal neighbors and grandmas down the street and retired civil servants and stuff that had went to work at the polls. And were just dismayed at what went on. And just treated very disrespectfully by the people that were running the thing, but for some ungodly reason, we're all Democrats. But, hopefully some of this stuff, well, the voting machine stuff, I think that's going to come out, but this other stuff, it's tough to do because they had plenty of time to destroy as much evidence as they wanted, but there's so much video of them doing stuff. It just, like, here were stacks of identical ballots. Well, like I say, this would be a whole nother video, but brand new mail-in ballots that had never been folded. How does this work? All identically machine marked. How does this work? It's just ridiculous. And even just the mathematics involved with this, it just doesn't work out. You can't have more ballots coming in from a district than there are human beings in the district. I mean, are you counting dogs and cats and, this doesn't work. The machine stuff, though, now Dominion is suing Sidney Powell for like $1 billion or some crazy amount for, making their company look bad. Well, and he right away said, "Oh, hell yes, bring it on." They've been trying to get this in court, and no court will let them. Now, if they actually are going to sue him, they're going to have to allow the evidence. So, yeah. But that could, something like that could drag on 2-3 years. Yeah, I hear somebody said, "You should stop drinking the Kool-Aid." Okay. When I look at what the news is saying, and they're all coordinated, they'll say the same phrases even. That's where your Kool-Aid is coming from. My information comes from other sources. It does not come from them. But it's funny, people are funny. And like I say, I'm not really that fond of Trump, but I am satisfied with his governance. I mean, he's trying to get some of that riffraff out of there, which is great. To me, he's a little too flamboyant. He's a showman. I don't really care for showmen. But if you get him in a corner and he settles down and gets serious about stuff, I think he's a pretty good politician. Which is why I think he can talk to people in other countries and stuff. I think that works. It's just that when he gets on, when he starts the showman stuff, he loses me. Well, so he's asking why the comments are on. Well, I mean, it's just sometimes I'll do that, sometimes I won't. Or sometimes I'll leave comments on and then later take them off. Or like now I'll have to go through and clean. I usually have to clean up the riffraff, but this doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, somebody said about the sheriff. A county sheriff could arrest the senators and congressmen who pull this stuff. Yeah, because I don't know that Soros has actually got into the sheriff system. I think he's more in the political side of things, and the sheriff really isn't political. Yeah, that's what it was somebody saying about the Supreme Court, refusing to hear that. The case that they were bringing up from Texas that included all these other states. Yeah, boy, that was bad. That was. Oh, somebody says, yeah, duplicate your channel on Rumble. No, I tell you, I really, people often say, even with the gun stuff, you should start putting stuff on other channels, other networks and stuff. I have no interest in doing that. If it gets to the point, which it's pretty close to, I'm just out completely. And like people always say, oh, have your stuff backed up. I don't back up anything. I delete. As soon as something gets up, it's deleted. Off of my system, I have nothing. I ain't going to store all that stuff. I let YouTube store it, and if they delete it, it's gone. Now, somebody says about Texas leaving. Well, there's a good chance Texas, but there's a lot of other stuff going on, like in Washington and Oregon. There's a lot of places that they are not happy with this, with the way things have been going, So there's going to be a shakeup in the whole assortment, the way states are set up. I often look at that. If you look at the FEMA map, boy, it really looks like, because they have divided up into regions. I think that's what we're going to end up with. If you look at that, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, somebody said about, because, you hear this all the time where people say, oh, they've rejected the evidence 50 times. No, they refuse to hear the evidence 50 times. That's a whole different thing. They're actually afraid of the evidence. Well, yeah, this is somebody saying about you kind of expect that from the left, which you do, but he says he's worried about the Republicans now. Well, I'm really, there are radicals, like you saw at the Capitol, but most of the Republicans are just people trying to make a living and get by. That's all. They aren't, getting all upset about things, but when you push it so far, and that's what they've done. They pushed it too far to the point where it's not tolerable. Here's somebody who's going to unsubscribe, which is fine. I will make sure of that. I'll just block him. But I have to look at it because then there was 5 other people who relied to his comment, and I'm not going to go into them now. But I have no idea how many subscribers I have. I don't really care. When I do this, I'm just saying whatever I feel like saying. Whatever is on my mind. In fact, I have found I can do a video like this and then find out that the camera hasn't been working. But I'm fine with it. I don't, then I've got it off my mind. I've said my piece. Nobody heard it except maybe the chickens and the dog, but that's all right. It's still, the only thing I have to watch is that sometimes I will make reference to something that I said in a video that was never a video, so I have to kind of pay attention to that. Now here's somebody where I said there was all this evidence, and not once does he actually mention a single piece of evidence. Well, my God, like I say, it wouldn't be a video. I would have to do many hours of videos to cover all that evidence. But there's plenty of evidence. It's undeniable. But yet they denied. I'm skipping over a lot of these, they just agreed, with what I said. But, so I'm not going into them. Oh, it's funny. Yeah, here, I didn't mean to do that. I fully expected this video to be taken down and to get a strike or to get demonetized on it. But there's a funny thing going on, which I think YouTube is aware of now. There's been so much, like Twitter and Facebook, in like 3 days they lost like $50 billion worth of business from all their blocking people, kicking people off, including Trump, because Trump really made them, and then they kick him off. Because I heard today now Facebook is putting allowing his Facebook page back up again. Because, they pretend like they have this ethical thing going on, but money trumps everything. So, yeah, they, like on this video, not on this video, on the video that I did, I'm going to be making, I'll have to check, but it'll be between $40 and $50, and that's how much they make. They make the same amount I do. So, they don't, money trumps everything. Yeah, it's funny how, somebody said about Parler being down, and yeah, it's, there's a problem there with those big tech companies, a serious problem. In fact, when they're talking about at the election polls, there was the one instance where I thought, this is odd. The group of people that were the poll workers that were doing the counting. Something struck me odd about them. And here it turns out these people were all hired with money that I believe was from Facebook, but it was like a grant that was given. They were hired out of this temporary company, this help company, temporary worker thing, that basically supplies the workers to maintain the cemeteries. That was the people that were in there. So evidently they got out the vote. They've been registering dead people all this time. A funny thing too, in one of these, like I say, they won't have a big hearing like a real regulation sort of thing, but in these small hearings that they've had, that I've watched many of, he was Republican too, one of the people running the operation, they keep saying, oh no, there was no problem. Well, then I had to mention that, one of these absentee voter things had come from his address. Oh, then he was mad. Oh, he was pissed off. Gonna get that guy, whoever did that. That's the guy we got to go after. Well, millions of this sort of thing happened, and you're concerned about this one guy? I mean, they went around from place to place looking at some of these addresses, all these vacant lots. If there was a house there, they go to the door. The people there never heard of such a person. It was all just bullshit. But if you don't look into it, and if you don't cover it, you can't just sweep this under the rug. That's the problem. They're trying to sweep it under the rug. People aren't gonna. Yeah, he says, yeah, the rules for the election were set in advance by both parties. There was no fraud. Oh, God, no. No. You can set the rules, but if you don't follow the rules, it doesn't mean anything. Well, he's talking about attacking the Capitol, too. The thugs who attacked our Capitol were our traitors. Well, okay. There again, I could go into this. There's things about that are interesting. Things that I noticed. But we'll see if I have some time here. I must be getting to the end of these. Well, okay, I'll just go ahead and talk about it instead of. Okay, the timeline is all wrong. They're trying to blame Trump for instigating this and getting these people riled up when they went down there and stormed the Capitol. But they were already in the Capitol 15 minutes before Trump's speech ever ended. People that were at the protest said they go down there and here's all these people milling around, that were already there, already going inside. And so there was some weird stuff that went on there. In fact, there was one in the crowd. You see this whole line of people, obviously military or paramilitary sort. They're all got this gear on. One in front breaking a trail, each succeeding one behind the other, holding onto the gear of the front and one in front of them, and he just like a snake through the crowd, went right in. Then there was a point in there where they said, okay, you hear something, they said, we got what we came for, and then they're gone. Interesting. And then you hear later that a bunch of laptops are missing, including Pelosi's laptop. And then she disappears for a couple of days, and people start wondering what become of her. And then she turns up again. And that was when this impeachment stuff was starting, and I'm thinking, boy, she wants in on this. Where in the hell is she? Then she did turn up again, like 2 days later, but I haven't heard what became of the laptop. And this isn't like with government secrets on it. This is just her laptop. And I think they got like a dozen laptops. And how they walked out, well, how would somebody walk out with a podium? I don't know, but there was weird stuff that went on in this. And they like to say, well, there was no Antifa there. And it was funny because there was some nut out of Alabama that had all this crap in his vehicle. But then there was somebody else, he was out of Michigan, that got arrested for having a firearm. And then when they contacted his family, he said, this doesn't make any sense. What's he doing there? He's far left. Why would he be at a Trump rally? And then I hear like 2 days later, they dismissed that case. But, that's funny. A gun in Washington, and when they say this, that they were trying to take the whole Capitol. It was funny because, well, I still got comments I should be going at, but there were things that went